Hey you guys, today I'm making a video about the ego. This was a requested video by a subscriber. I'm not going to say the person's name just in case they don't want their name out there. So I'm going to go through the email they sent me, and basically as I'm running through the email, I'm just going to stop here and there just to put in my own 2 cents and then continue on. So this is the message I received. It says, "Hello, your readings are targeting people who claim to be aware, and they can only understand the meaning of what you are saying by trusting your opinion." Now, the first thing I want to say is this about that whole sentence is, I don't want anyone to just trust my opinion. I feel like people should be empowered in their lives. I don't believe that even if you are a tarot reader, you're a spiritual teacher, you're a guru, or whoever you're supposed to be, I don't think that anyone else is supposed to have a greater authority over your life than you do. In my readings, whether it is a personal one or a general one, I always want the person receiving the message to feel empowered, to feel like, okay, these are the energies that are currently running through, the universe, running through your life, okay, but now you can maneuver them and change them as you choose to. That's the same way I look at astrology. Like, I'm learning more and more about astrology, especially in relation to my readings and stuff, and even when I listen to astrologers do like forecasts, or I get a reading or whatever, it's the same thing. It's all about energies that are present, and it's your choice if you want to manifest something with that energy or not. It's the same way like when it's a new moon and stuff. Sometimes I will say when it's a new moon and say that, this is an opportunity for you to bring something new into your life. However, that is your choice if you want to bring something new or not. It's not compulsory. It's not that you have to. Some things are controlled by the universe. Some things are controlled by ourselves. And so I think that any individual person should feel empowered in their lives and the decisions that they make. And no one should feel like they've been, I don't know, forced to believe in something that doesn't resonate with them. That's another thing as well. I don't believe in people giving messages and stuff and feeling like you're somehow condemned if you don't accept that person's message and accept it as gospel truth. I don't believe in that whole kind of thing, and I wouldn't want anyone to get that impression from my videos. But I'm not saying that that's what this person is trying to say, but I just want to make that clear because I don't think I've ever really said that in a video before, and that's how I feel. So yeah, it says, make a video about the ego, which is what it truly is, and how children let me get myself together. Make a video about the ego and what it truly is, and how childhood conditioning can cause an incorrect view of change. Our conditioning, education, or brackets education, forms a base where we compare new ideas. We haven't let it go. We are just modifying it. And I think that is very true as well. I think a lot of the things that we do learn as children, we do still take with us throughout our whole lives. And I think that that's very clear, especially when you look at the issues that adults deal with generally later on in life. Because so many things that we deal with later on in life have so much to do with our childhood and things that happened when we were children and stuff like that, and we do carry it with us like throughout our entire lives. I think it's because when we come into the world, it's like we're a clean slate basically. It's like we're starting at zero, like we have nothing. So when we come out as children, and then over the course of time we're being raised by our parents, obviously our parents instill certain beliefs, certain values, they teach you certain things, and then obviously over time you learn them, and just like a sponge you absorb everything they teach you, and then you go to school and you absorb what they teach you there, and then you have friends and you absorb what they teach you. It's like you have so many influences in your life, and all of these influences are somehow contributing to you, almost piecing you together like a puzzle, completing you into this person that you end up being. Now, the interesting thing about that is that if you look at it from a spiritual perspective, none of those things really make up a human person. Like, we in and of itself are just, we're not our situation, we're not our condition, we're not our parents, we're not any of those things. We are a being all in and of itself. But because of the fact that especially, you know, when you are coming from the point of the ego and you're coming from the point of the human self, which, you know, the human self isn't, we basically, you know, we have our issues, we have our flaws, we have our limitations. And if you look at it from that perspective, we tend to associate things with ourselves to give us a sense of identity. But really, this identity is something that we've created. It's not something that's really real. It's something that we have formed because of belief systems that we've formed all throughout our lives. And to be honest, that's why we can really meet some very big challenges in our lives, because of the fact that we tend to associate so many things with ourselves. And because we associate with ourselves, it controls how we feel, and it controls how we react to certain things and the things that we do. And so and then sometimes we feel like we're out of control, like oh my gosh, like I'm dealing with anxiety, I don't know how to get over this anxiety, I don't know how to get over this depression, I don't know how to get over this anger problem, or something like that. When in actuality, all of these things are things that you've created because of the fact that you're attaching yourself to things that really aren't even you. So yeah, but so I do fully believe that there are a lot of things that we learn from childhood that we do take with us. And I think when in reference to the ego itself, I think there is you know, I think the ego, you know, exists, you know, basically from the time that we're created. It already is there. It's already something that is there. But in order to kind of control it and stuff, I'll have to get into that a bit later. So let me just continue on reading, just in case I forget to read this whole thing. So it says, how do you dismiss your ego? You have identified it as a part of the human makeup. How do you throw part of yourself away? This is not helping. Hold on, let me turn my phone around, make it a bit bigger for me. I think that's why I'm struggling to read. It's too small for me. Okay. How do you dismiss your ego? You have identified it as part of the human makeup. How do you throw part of yourself away? This is not helping. Introducing new ideas with the base still active doesn't change the base. You do not understand the depth of the base and its entanglement. And that, you know, I do think that is true as well. We do have to understand where a lot of these, you know, things that we believe, we feel, the way we function, we have to understand where they come from, where they stem from, in order to do something about it. I feel like when we're talking about the ego, I think that the only way you can really manage the ego, or try and surpass it, which is another thing I want to say before I actually go deeper into this, a lot of spiritual, well, not a lot, take that back, some spiritual teachers will say, oh, destroy the ego, destroy the ego. Like I've heard Dorian Virtue say that before, like, oh, destroy the ego, whatever. I don't think it's possible for you to do that. I don't think it's possible for any human being to do that. Some people may say that that's wrong. This is just my belief system, okay? This is just what I believe. I think that you can surpass it, but I don't think that you can destroy it, because the ego is, it's a part of you. It is you. It's yeah, you have a higher self, you also have this lower self. And so, like the same way you have your spiritual self, you have your human self. So you can't rid yourself of something that is essentially a part of you. The only thing that you can do is you can learn to surpass it by understanding what it is, understanding the role that it plays, why it makes you think the way you do, why, you know, what it actually does, can therefore help you understand how you can therefore be able to work with it in a way that is not limiting you and holding you back, because you understand how it functions. I think that's the main thing about it. I think that where we are as humans when it comes to our kind of soul evolution, I definitely don't think that we've reached the point where we can definitely destroy any ego. I don't even think we've reached the point where the majority of people can even surpass the ego. I mean, when you look at society today, especially, you know, if I'm speaking from, well, to be honest, I was going to say if I'm speaking from a point of you know, living in a developed, so-called developed country. I don't like using them kind of words, but you know, that's what they call it, living somewhere like I do in the UK and so forth. But even if you go to, you know, so-called, you know, underdeveloped countries, it's the same thing you see. When you look at the way the world is, when you have people doing the things that they do, you can tell a lot of it comes from that sort of, that the lower level of or functioning, you know, this idea of, like, even if you look at capitalism, the way businesses run, all these, you know, the kind of way we live generally, especially for us in these kind of countries that support these kind of systems, it's very clear and evident that we do not live in a world that is full of so-called enlightened people. It's very clear. I don't want to have to go into all that stuff because I don't want to bring in all that kind of negative energy in, but yeah, we know obviously the things that we see going on, and it's clear and it's obvious. So I think, you know, just looking at the state of things in the world, we can clearly see that we're not close to even getting rid of the ego. The only thing we can do is just learn how to work with it, and like I said, be able to understand how it limits us. So let me go back and read again. It says, yeah, how do you dismiss the ego? Let me turn it back sideways. Designer thoughts is only a fashion statement. This has been done in the base education. Powerful minds were in the think tanks designing. How can you know the higher self if you never understand the lower self? That is very, very, very true. You have to understand the lower self in order to even fathom the higher self. Like, you would never be able to grasp I guess, like, the spiritual realms, the higher realms, if you don't understand things of even this realm. And there are a lot of people that don't understand anything about this realm whatsoever, even though they live in the world. Like, you'll see so many things, and it's so interesting to me because I'm quite an observant person. I'm the kind of person that generally, I don't speak a lot when I'm around people. I like to kind of look at people and kind of observe, listen to people. And sometimes I'm a bit chatty, but I always like to listen, and I like to ask people questions that usually get other people talking rather than me being the main one talking. And it's interesting, like, even today, me and my son went to the William Morris Gallery, which is in East London, really near to where we live, but we had never been there. And it's so interesting that William Morris is he was a designer, and he was alive in, like, the 18th century. But on top of being a designer, he was also a bit of a, you know, environmentalist, and he was a socialist. And he was talking about you know, the sort of more of the industrialization of, like, England and stuff during the Victorian period, and how he was saying about overpopulation of areas, and how you know, about pollution and stuff like that happened as a result of, you know, of the industrialization and so forth. And I was kind of thinking, I found it so fascinating that somebody so many years ago, I mean from in the 1800s, was talking about these things, and yet even now in 2014 people are still protesting about these things, about, you know, overpopulation, about pollution and so forth. And yet these are things that are still a huge issue in so many, like, parts of the world. I mean, just the other day they were talking about some kind of, I don't know what it even was, some kind of pollution that was going to be coming in from some other country, that was going to be coming into the UK. And they were talking about, you know, if you have breathing difficulties, to be careful because of this pollution. And you think to yourself, it's so crazy that so many years after the fact we're still not learning about these kind of things. So much so, I mean, to be honest, I don't want to say that we're not learning, because we do know what they are and we do know what causes it, but because of the mindset that so many of us have, And I think it is the ego that makes us do these kind of things, because of, you know, these big corporations that, you know, they pollute everywhere, because they don't care. They just want, you know, to make huge sums of money, and they don't want to even, you know, try to experiment with using alternative energy and things like that. All they want to do is sort of stick to you know, petrol, you know, and fear is another one that a lot of people refer to when it comes to the ego and such, because a lot of people live in fear. A lot of people are scared of what is to come, you know. Even with this whole the full moon eclipse that we had, the blood moon, there was, I saw like some news report saying, oh, this is the end of time, because they were associating it with a biblical scripture of, you know, the moon will turn into blood and this other stuff. And it's like, there's so much fear mongering, especially in the media and stuff. There's so much of it that they generate because they want to create that in people, because they know that all of this is energy, and they know that when you get a whole bunch of people to feel afraid, it's an energy that kind of just comes together, and it just spreads like throughout. It's the same thing if you get a whole bunch of people in prayer, and that actually connects to another video that I was supposed to make before, where I was showing you my Tenerife rock. I think I did that in a reading, and I said I was going to make a video, but I hadn't yet. And it was the same thing. Like I got that rock, and I knew that where I got that rock from was a place where people were praying. Like, I knew that. And when we were there was no one there praying, but I knew that that land, people were there at some point in time. I couldn't tell you exactly when. At that time I couldn't tell you when, but actually I found out when later on. I'll have to make the proper video about this, but I found out that, you know, this was an area where people used to pray a lot at one point in time. And because of that, and to be honest, some people would still be praying there even up to today, but because of that, I knew, like, I could tell from the energy that was there that that's what was going on there. Because it's like, these things, they stay where they are. They stay, the energy still stays in the physical realm on the planet. And because of that, it just goes to show how, you know, when we're thinking positively, it really does exude out to other people. And the same thing happens when we're feeling negative, when we're feeling fear, when we're feeling anger, it exudes out to other people as well. And so you have to think to yourself, if this is taking place on a large scale with a large group of people, that energy exudes out, it can exude out to the whole world, you know. And so it's not, I'm telling you, the work that we have to do in this life is very challenging work, particularly if you are a person that you are all about self-development, trying to develop yourself spiritually, and, you know, being spiritually enlightened and so forth. Is a lot of work, in that there's so many influences around you that probably won't support you in what you are trying to do for yourself, and even what you're trying to do for others. But with that being said, I feel like it's definitely worth it. It's definitely worthwhile in doing. But also, what I would want to say in terms of the ego and overcoming it, I would say the only way you can really surpass the ego is if you really grasp and understand, for one, who you are as a person. And that can take a long time, because you have to really understand that so many things in this world are illusions. Essentially, they're illusions. They're not really real. And that so many of the things that we kind of associate with being ourselves and make us form this identity isn't really us either. And if we can let go of that kind of understanding and really believe that what we are really is just potential. That's all we really are. It's almost like we're just kind of, the way I look at it is, we are that 0.0. We are that, like, 0 point from the time we were born. We're still like that. The only thing now is that we kind of believe that we've evolved past that point because of the fact that we've been told all these things and taught all these things. But all of those things, well, a lot of those things we would have been taught would have been, like, ego based things, ego driven things that we grew up learning. But I think the most important thing is to be able to identify it for what it is, and then be able to understand sort of the shadow aspect of ourselves, which is something that a lot of people don't want to do, because it's very uncomfortable work. Like, who wants to learn things about themselves that are unpleasant? Nobody. But it's important, because then you can kind of understand what it is that you need to be able to let go of in order to evolve to a higher state, in order, even if you don't even believe in the whole shift and everything else, it's just, it's also essentially self-help. It's a way of you also living a better life, living a more fulfilled life. And when you do that kind of work in understanding yourself and so forth, and I think with that, if you can couple that with learning things, that are more of the spiritual nature, and such, I think you can couple it together, and it can really help you in order to I think, to generally feel more content in your life. That's what I think. I think it will generally make you feel more content in your life, because what I do know for sure is, coming from a place of strictly ego and not at all from the higher self, it's not a pleasant way to live. At all. It's not a pleasant way to live. It's not a happy way to live. And a lot of people that live like that, and that are completely oblivious to it, and so therefore they don't understand where certain things they may do, and certain things they may say, and certain ways they may behave is coming from that. They're not happy. They're not gonna be happy. And for me personally, I can't say that I've reached that point. Definitely, I definitely haven't reached the point where I can turn around and say that I've completely surpassed my ego and stuff like that. I definitely can't say that. But it's something that I can work on, and because of that, and because of the things that I know up until this point, it's definitely helped me in being able to at least feel better about myself, feel better about the things that I am here to do in this life, and generally live a more pleasant life. And that's sort of what I want to do through my channel in general, and that's what I would hope that a lot of people will be able to experience in their life, not only from my channel but just in general. So yes, that's my video. To the person that sent me the message, thank you, because it really got me thinking about some things. And if there's things I didn't cover, like, please let me know. But that's it. I'll see you guys. Bye.